Captain Nova Kester walks through a desolate place wearing a gas mask and a protective suit. On her arm, a monitor warns her that oxygen levels are running low, so she is called back to base before carbon dioxide and methane levels become critical. Nova returns to the command center and tells a disfigured man in a wheelchair that they have to leave. Aboard a shuttle, Nova prepares for takeoff alongside ADD, a small robot with no sense of humor. Timo, the operator, confirms that she is ready and begins the countdown, while the man in the wheelchair watches from nearby. Nova ascends through a barren atmosphere, and once she reaches sufficient altitude, she sees the planet in a worse state than she had imagined. She then enters a wormhole and is reminded that she must carry out her mission in secret, avoiding contact or altering the course of events. As she approaches the speed of light, she loses communication with the base, and ADD changes the route. Nova can only scream as she begins to transform into a child. At that moment, a shooting star crosses the night sky while Nuz, a local teenager, drives his buggy through the forest. Seeing the lights from the ship, he follows them to the crash site. There, ADD finds him and asks what year it is. Nuz replies that it is 2025 and accompanies him, finding Nova unconscious on the ground. ADD explains that they landed at the wrong coordinates. Nearby sirens can be heard, so he asks Nuz to carry Nova to avoid being discovered. The police arrive at the crash site and find the ship, but Nuz has already fled with Nova in his buggy. He takes her to an abandoned factory and lays her down on some tires, noticing that she is bleeding from her nose. Nuz suggests taking her to the hospital, but ADD refuses and kicks him out for not being a doctor. Offended, Nuz leaves, leaving Nova alone with the robot. Meanwhile, Officer Claire Luchtmajor arrives at the crash site and meets Cone, another police officer investigating the ship. Nuz, meanwhile, returns home to get water and a first aid kit, avoiding waking a man asleep on the couch. He then returns to the factory without knowing that Claire is nearby. The man tells the officer that Nuz often goes to that place. Nuz returns to help Nova, but only finds her astronaut suit. Suddenly, the younger version of Nova appears behind him and points a weapon at him. He tells her that he only wants to help and slowly opens the first aid kit to offer her a tissue for the blood. Nova accepts it distrustfully and wipes her nose. ADD explains that her transformation into her child version may have been a side effect of time travel. He also tells her that the ship is still operational and that they have 24 hours left to complete the mission. At that moment, Claire enters the factory to investigate and finds Nova's suit. Then she hears her car driving away. Nuz and Nova have stolen it. On the road, Nova thanks Nuz for his help, which sparks his curiosity. He wants to know who she is and why the police are looking for her. Nova tells him nothing, and ADD reminds her that they must not reveal her identity. In return, Nova offers him all her money if he takes her to her destination. Nuz stretches out his hand to take it, but Nova tells him to keep driving. He jokes that he did not hear her, since supposedly they do not exist. Meanwhile, Claire brings Nuz's buggy and Nova's suit to the police station as evidence. The next morning, Claire and Cone inform the colonel that the ship came from space, but inside they found human fingerprints. Curiously, all of them match the same person, but at different ages, and all of them are recent. The fingerprints match those of a 12-year-old girl. From the car, Nova looks at the green landscape and asks Nuz what he would do with the money. At first he jokes, but then confesses that he would like to visit his father in South America. Nova notices that he becomes sad when she asks about his mother, so she drops the subject. The car begins to smoke, so they have to stop. Luckily, a man named Alton passes by and offers to tow the vehicle to repair it at his house. Although Nova and ADD hesitate, Nuz accepts the help. When they arrive at Alton's house, he introduces them to his wife Margin, who is tending her garden. Alton takes Nuz with him to help fix the car, leaving Nova in the garden with Margin. Nova is amazed to see the plants growing, and Margin explains that they only plant the seeds and let nature do the rest. Meanwhile, Claire visits the home of the teenage version of Nova. Her parents say she was home all night. Claire checks her bedroom, notices her interest in astronomy, and asks whether she has ever taken flying lessons. Since she has not, everyone is taken to the military base to be interrogated. Back at Alton's house, he and Nuz finish repairing the car and invite them to stay for dinner. Nova eats quickly, and ADD insists that she needs vitamins. Margin asks about Nova's clothes and whether Nuz has a driver's license. Nuz lies, saying that he does, and that Nova is just a gothic girl. While they are eating, images of Nuz and Nova appear on the television, accusing them of kidnapping. Alton and Margin look at each other in silence, and then Alton takes Nuz upstairs. Margin asks Nova if she was kidnapped, but Nova simply replies that it was the other way around and keeps eating. Alton lends Nuz some clothes, and meanwhile Claire and Cone observe the teenage Nova in a holding room. They suspect she might be a clone, but they do not understand why someone with such advanced technology would make two identical girls. Claire interrogates her, and the young Nova says that she wants to be a fighter pilot or an astronaut when she grows up. Soon, the police arrive at Alton's house. Nuz and Nova believe they have been betrayed and prepare to flee, but first they see how Alton covers for them. However, Claire's car rolls out of Alton's garage, revealing their presence, and the kids escape running through a cornfield. Later, the colonel arrives and informs Claire that they found her car. She orders a search alert to be issued for Nova Kester. The colonel is surprised, since they already have Nova in custody, but Cone explains that they might be dealing with two versions of the same person. Claire returns to Alton and Margin's house to interrogate them. They say they found the car abandoned and deny knowing the kids, but an officer finds Nuz's jacket, which triggers search operations. Claire takes a helicopter to track them across the fields. Nuz and Nova continue on foot through the forest, with only an hour and a half left to complete the mission. A soldier finds them, but Nova puts him on pause with her special weapon and explains to Nuz that he will remain like that for a few hours, so he can reflect on his life. They leave him there for Claire to find and continue on their way. They reach a fenced property and enter through a gap. Nova guides them to a room where executives from the Falcon Company are already gathered. She bursts in, demanding to speak privately with Simon Valk Jr., but he tells her to speak in front of everyone. Nova begs them not to drill in the North Pole, because doing so will release large amounts of methane, accelerating global warming and causing extreme climates and floods. No one believes her, and Simon's father mocks her. Security arrives and throws both of them out. Outside the building, Nova reveals to Nuz that her mission is to prevent the environmental disaster that will occur if the pole is drilled. ADD says it is time for Plan B, so they install the robot underneath Simon's car as a tracking device. At the military base, Claire and Cone observe the soldier affected by Nova's weapon. He has no injuries, but his brain activity is extremely high. Meanwhile, at the Falcon Company, a guard recognizes Nova from the police alert and reports it. Claire heads there immediately. Nuz and Nova arrive at a cliff overlooking the sea. Nova becomes emotional when she sees the ocean, something she has not seen in a long time. Nuz, misinterpreting the moment, tries to kiss her, but Nova pulls away and tells him that she is much older than he is. She is 37 years old and a time traveler. She explains that if the pole is drilled, in 20 years there will be environmental disasters, floods, droughts, and most life will disappear. Nuz is shocked, wondering if he will even be alive by then. Nova apologizes for telling him the truth, but believes he had the right to know. Claire arrives at Falcon and discovers that Nova and Nuz interrupted the drilling meeting. Simon has already left, but Claire reviews the security footage and sees them placing ADD under the car, confirming that there are two Novas. She immediately goes after them and updates Cone. Nuz and Nova infiltrate Simon's house. Nova tells him that she has known him for a long time, and ADD projects a holographic message from the future Simon, the same man in the wheelchair. The older Simon begs the younger one to stop the drilling, assuring him that it will only bring regret. He tells him that earning his father's approval is not worth risking the planet. When the message ends, Simon laughs, not taking them seriously. Furious, Nuz grabs Nova's special weapon and points it at Simon. Unbeknownst to him, the police have already arrived. As they try to stop Nuz, Nova and ADD are shot. Nova falls wounded, unable to move, while she sees ADD damaged. Nuz flees into the forest and returns to Alton's house, where he breaks down, blaming himself for what happened. At the military base, Nova is treated in the infirmary. When she wakes up, Claire asks how she can help her, and Nova finally tells her the truth. She is a time traveler sent to stop the drilling at the North Pole. Claire talks to Cone about the possibility of time travel while he tries to repair ADD. Cone comments that both the robot and the objects found in the ship appear to be manufactured in the future. Suddenly, ADD reactivates and escapes flying away with Nova's special weapon. Claire and Cone lose sight of him in the parking lot, just as they see Simon being released. Claire confronts him and mentions Nova's environmental warnings, but Simon becomes defensive. His father arrives, picks him up, and threatens Claire with a lawsuit. At Alton's house, Margin calls several hospitals trying to find Nova. At that moment, ADD appears and gives the weapon to Nuz, asking him to help Nova return to the future. Alton drives him to the base, where Nuz turns himself in and is taken to an interrogation room. There he fires at the officers with Nova's weapon and puts them on pause. He retrieves Nova's suit and helmet, takes her to the parking lot, and brings her to the ship. Claire realizes it too late. She only finds Nuz watching as Nova takes off toward the sky. Nova returns to the year 2050, where the world is still barren and desolate. Timo finds her and takes her to the center so she can recover. When she wakes up, she tells Timo and Simon that the trip made her younger, and that Simon did not believe her when she was a child. Simon insists that the mission was not a total failure and that she must go back. Then a boy runs in, calls her mom, and hugs her. Standing beside him is his father, Nuz, now an adult. Nova has changed the future. Then Nova and her son walk across the dry land until the boy finds the skeleton of a bird. Nova explains that it once flew, but humans wanted more than the Earth could give. Saddened, Nova understands what she must do, return to the past once again. Speaking with Timo, she proposes resuming the mission where she left off, so as not to alter the future too much with Nuz and her son. She also tells Simon that this time they will have to play harder. Soon, Nova travels back to the year 2025 and appears 1 minute after having left Nuz and Claire in the parking lot. Claire hands the weapon to Nuz and lets them go to stop Simon. On the way, other time travel ships fly alongside Nova's. She assures Nuz that they are not coming with them, but that they all share the same mission. They arrive at the North Pole just as drilling is about to begin. While Simon's father gives a speech about extracting oil and gas, Nuz and Nova force their way through, using the weapon to put the guards on pause. When the moment comes to activate the drill, Simon hesitates, thinking about Nova's warnings. His father insults him and pushes him aside to press the button himself. Before he can do so, Nova stops him with the weapon. She then shuts down the machinery while Simon drops to his knees, devastated. Nova considers putting him on pause as well, but Nuz stops her. They might still need him. At the military base, Claire and Cone receive reports of multiple ships appearing in different parts of the planet, all in places where human activity threatens the environment. Alton and Margin also see the news while Alton finishes repairing ADD. Moments later, Nuz and Nova arrive at Alton's house. Nova thanks Nuz for his help and says goodbye, as she must return to her time. She offers him her hand, but he hugs her instead. She does not tell him that they will meet again in the future. Alton and Margin come outside and return ADD to her, now reprogrammed with a sense of humor. The three of them watch as Nova rises into the sky and returns to the future. Later, Claire picks Nuz up and takes him to the base for questioning. Nuz tells her that the ships will keep arriving as long as humans need to be reminded to take care of the Earth. He also explains that the soldiers were only put on pause for a few hours to think about their lives. Finally, he confirms that Nova has already returned to the future. Claire takes him to the parking lot to return his buggy. There, both of them see the teenage Nova leaving with her family in a car. Claire looks at him knowingly, and Nuz gets into his buggy to follow them.